More Yu-Gi-Oh! On my primarily Pokemon-themed channel. We're doing the starter deck Codebreaker. So this is my second ever starter deck. Technically, it's my first starter deck. As the last deck I did was a structure deck, actually. So this one will be a bit different. But there's another reason I wanted to do this. So I mentioned in that last video, the last, Yu-Gi-Oh! Video, that I wanted to, make some way to store these in like a deck box, as the Pokemon decks always come with a deck box, and that's the reason I enjoy collecting those decks, because it's like a way to preserve that era of Pokemon. I learned a way I can do it with Yu-Gi-Oh! As well, and I'm going to be showing you guys that later in the video. But let's go through what's actually in here. So we have the beginner's guide with the same artwork on it. And it basically just teaches you about the deck, how to use the specific deck. It's from 2017, so I don't think if you're playing, in tournaments, it's really going to go too well for you. We also have what appears to be a playmat, yeah. And unlike the structure deck, it doesn't appear to have a poster side. It's just white, which really sucks. I wanted more of those posters, man. It's still technically a playmat, the other one, but it's very poster-like. Just pretty standard. I don't know who actually uses those paper playmats unless, they're just not learning how to play and it's useful for laying things out. So we do have our best cards on the front of this, so I'm going to be throwing them to the back. I don't know how many there are going to be, so we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to do 7 and hope that's all of our good cards. So we have Bit Run, and these are all going to be first edition. I think most starter and structure decks all do that. We have a Ram card, Link Slayer, Backup Secretary. I know I actually have a few of those, despite not being the biggest Yu-Gi-Oh! Collector. Flame Veil Guard looks kind of neat. Beast King Barbaros, I believe you're pronounced. Cyber Dragon, yep. Evil Swarm, what the hell is that thing? Okay, we have Marshmelon. When Yu-Gi-Oh! Has some really, serious, hardcore cards, like Flame Veil Guard, and then we go to Marshmelon, I think it's hilarious. I love the cutesy Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards more than anything else. We have Raikou Lightsworn Hunter, Battle Fader Swift Scarecrow, Cybernet Universe, Scapegoat, Monster Reborn, big card from my childhood, along with Dark Hole, and Mystical Space Typhoon. We're getting a lot of older cards in here as well. Book of the Moon, United We Stand, Card Trader, Burden of the Almighty, Ego Boost, that's definitely what I need a few of. Supply Squad, Assign That Something, Shadow Spell, Call of the Haunted, Mirror Force, Bottomless Trap Hole, Zero Gravity, yep. We have Decode Talker, more of the Link cards I still don't know enough about, but I still find them interesting at the very least. So we get to our holos. We have the Cyberverse White Hat. Doesn't look too bad. We're going to pull from the back now to try and get all of the other, more basic ones out of the way. A Text Changer, Leotron. Okay, that's also a holo. So, Cyberverse White Hat, not terrible. It makes me think of Kaiba, sort of. We have Transcode Talker, straight up just a Transformer. There's no other way around that. It's just a Transformer. Doesn't look bad, though. We have Widget Kid. Okay. Signet Recovery, which also has the white cowboy dude on there. And we have Pentastag. Okay. So I do have one issue with this. So with the structure deck that we got, granted this is not a structure deck, it is a starter deck. Not only did it come with the poster thing in it, it also came with a special card, as you can see right here, that actually has the structure deck thing on it. That's really important to how I was going to show you guys how I'm doing these decks. But it seems that this guy right here is a big theme for this deck, so we're going to utilize him as the deck art. So the first step is to get some sleeves that are made for Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. These are the exact size that you need. and sleeve all of the cards. Alright, so once you get all of your cards sleeved, what you want to do is normally if you had a structure deck and it came with that card that had like the structure deck logo on it, you would put that on top. In this case, I'm just doing the card that seems to be the most fitting to match this deck, which happens to be the Cyberverse White Hat. And then there's another random favorite card from the set, in which case I kind of like the Widget Kid card, so he's going to be going on the back. And all you do is you get a hold of one of these. These are made by Ultra Pro, and I believe, I'll make sure to put here, because I might have it wrong, that these are the 50 card clear deck boxes. Again, I'll let you know if it's just not the 50 card. I'm pretty sure that's the one that ended up working well for me. But you can see it fits it just about perfectly. The cards go a bit over, which is a good thing. Because not only is there an extra little bit of space in here, but it also keeps the cards compressed to where they won't get damaged and shuffle around in this thing, which leaves a little bit of room for sliding as it's made to fit just about any kind of card. Then, when you close it up, it should, in theory, prevent them from shaking too much. Now, you might want to hear, it is shaking a little bit. And that's because there aren't quite as many cards in here as there is in the structured deck, which is kind of a problem. So for starter decks, this might not be the perfect solution. Okay, I should add in here really quick that if you're worried about the card shaking in the box, because you're going to be moving them around a lot, and you are worried about getting whitening on the sides and whatever else, what you could do in theory is to get regular size sleeves like you would for Pokemon or other TCGs, and sleeve them in those. While it's not normally good to sleeve Yu-Gi-Oh cards in larger size sleeves, when they're in that deck box, the sleeves, in theory, when they're being pressed down like that, won't have much room to wiggle within that deck box, as that deck box is made for those larger cards. So it would fill in the, space on the sides better than the sleeves I have in there now. It shouldn't make a big deal, because as they're in the sleeve and they're being compressed like that, it is kind of hard to wiggle them. I had to shake it pretty hard to get that sound to come out. So again, if you're worried about it, that might be a better solution. I just do it the way that I kind of prefer, because if I want to take them out of the deck box, which is kind of something that you tend to do with cards, they could fall out or whatever else when they're in the larger sleeves. So again, that's up to you guys. If you're trying to get a way just like to store and display your decks, but it's not a bad one. The other reason that you also want to sleeve all of the cards, even though some of them are just, basic, boring cards, is because you want them to fill this whole box. You want to make sure it fills the entire space. So if you flip it around, you'll see we have both of our good cards on the ends, but then you pull out one of these babies. They're not that expensive. I actually already had one because I actually use it for organizing because I collect so many different card games. But you just kind of, print out the label. So in this case, this is the Codebreaker deck, so we're just typing in Codebreaker. And what we can actually do is we can go to borders, and what I like to do, everybody is gonna have their own format. I just do the little square, so it has like an outline around it, and we print this puppy out. Of course, you want to use white tape and not the clear crap, because you're putting it on clear. I mean, I guess you could, but I prefer the white. Then snip that off. There's our beautiful little label there. It's not really beautiful, it's just the word Codebreaker with a square around it. And we just stick it right on. That's not quite lined up well. Oh, I just realized I printed it out larger than I did the other one. That's fine, I can always redo it later. But we have our Codebreaker label on the bottom, so we know exactly what pre-made deck this was. There's a good reason why I do that. So if we look at the structure deck for Freezing Chains I did in the last video, you can see I have Freezing Chains there. We have the structure deck like artwork card that came with it, which I really appreciate. And if we flip it over, we have our dragon, which I consider to be probably my favorite card from the set, at least the most influential for this set. Hear a little rattling still, but it's not nearly as bad. It's mostly because they've been compressing in here for so long. When I first put them in, it was kind of hard to get the lid closed, which is a good thing. It means that they're being held in pretty tightly. So we have our dragon there on the back and on the front with our label. So clearly, with the starter decks, it's not quite as nice because you don't have that artwork card on the front, but it's not too bad. The reason that I like to label these is because I'm going to be storing them like that. And that way, I can see exactly which structure deck or starter deck I'm looking at. With Pokemon decks, it always has it on the front. You have like artwork for it with the name of that starter deck. On these, you don't have that, so doing this allows you to see what it is when they're stacked up and being stored. So, again, if you are more of a collector and less of a player, and you want to kind of preserve things to match, as they were in that era when these eventually become 20, 30, 40 years old. It's kind of a nice way of doing that without having to hold on to the cardboard that you had to tear in order to get it all open in the first place. And then all of my paperwork crap, I just kind of keep all together. I have so many paperwork things from Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! And other card games I just kind of have in a pile. But yeah, I figured I'll make this video. I want to do more decks because I really do like storing them like this. I think this actually looks really nice, even though I obviously still prefer the structure deck format because of that card. But it's not bad. I really do like doing cards this way, so I actually hope this did help at least one person. So if it did, maybe give the video a like, subscribe to the channel. We're doing more Pokemon eventually. Well, more Pokemon, God. We're doing more Yu-Gi-Oh! Eventually, and hopefully I'll see all of you next time. Goodbye.